up in Tanzania. It matured in Kenya. Some young boys seated behind as the trailer moves. When they reached cross-border market, we had gone to Turukana, where some of this fish was coming from. The teams are aware that once it reaches Congo, it has got other challenges other than just conflicts that you don't understand. You have had issues of confiscation, goods being confiscated. So those kind of challenges is where and what is required. So you'll just find conflicts here, and maybe these conflicts have been manufactured that I'm going to put forward here to improve some of the cross-border trade across the border. It will not make sense that Uganda is doing this because we are addressing an ecosystem that is inclusive. So it has to be, if it is being done here in Kenya, to enable them play crucial roles in enhancing traders' business skills, advocate for public participation. Sometimes its interpretation is for them to be able to participate. You think you are participating, but you are basically a spectator. And that's not what we want. With a lot of financial institutions here, especially to promote our small schemes, what we are calling the cooperative fund and the agriculture development fund, because a lot of our people are doing agriculture. And that's why sometimes previously, these schemes have not worked well. We have given out money, but what was institutions that are better equipped, and even development partners, to support the necessary skills that are required, wanted with the resources that you have been given. And lastly, local governments in Uganda and even the countries themselves. I will give an obvious example, again, that we just had. The county assembly and in terms of even parking, roads, garbage collection, marshalling, we thought we should collect in country, and it was escalated all the way. Could solve locally. But we were saying that here has passed some laws that we need to implement as county governments. But it was a protocol. And we thought that there has been enough consultations. So we are still finding ways around on how to harmonize, is to make sure that we are able to give you service and develop the infrastructure that is required for us to give you that service. The building resilience of local government and informal women and youth traders in the greater Busia status of our small-scale cross-border traders is committed to this cause, because it is our responsibility when we talk about and how to monetize them. President Yoweri Museveni in Uganda, I have repeatedly had him and attended some functions. You also work for the pocket. And even as we are saying, we don't need some cent. We need to empower you in a way that you are aware that I can have something that gives me money. That is how money economy works. But if we are only working for survival, food, it becomes difficult. That's why Your Excellency and calling ward-based economic revitalization program. And we are trying to put in the water bus in Port Victoria there, that is now Island in Uganda and some places there. And the county commissioner was just reminding me today to Kenya, cassava, bananas, milk, eggs, all these things are now coming this way. So the balance to legalize it, to get away that, we teach them on how best they can do this without breaking the law. That is all it is not about, to them it's not about security, it's about economic survival. They comply with the requirements of the law, countries, or we harmonize those laws, like I've been attesting that we need like fishing in the waters. Because it's more of an economic issue than a security issue. To them, they'll just be saying you have broken the law. But what is the solution? But when we have got that, like Lake Victoria Fisheries Organization alternatives, and this is what we are calling about harmonizing, looking forward towards the East African Federation in we communities that live on the transboundaries should be in the forefront to make sure that are able to promote this. Lastly, again, emphasizing that there was a big dream previously. Victoria. Traders, fishermen, communities. And I want to thank Majanji and Rumin. But I think on Kenyan side, Bwana Commissioner, tujikaze kidogo. Our ring road has not Bukoba, but on Kenyan side here, we have not done. We have done bits and pieces. You escalate this, we'll try, but as a representative of the national government, that this is, so that road you find, it just ends in Majanji, and there's nothing coming. There must be a connection with Kenya. It further, you should tell them that we need to finish that infrastructure of the ring road around Lake Victoria. I don't know why Uganda and Kenya have done their bit. Uganda and Tanzania, they have done their bit, but on Kenyan side, we have not done our bit. For deliberations. Thank you and God bless you.
Umpigie Mheshimiwa Gavana makofi tena. Two or three stakeholders, just for purposes of the later part of the program. Let me start with you, Mr. Chairman. You could stand up, probably with your members present, just a wave. I know the Honorable Speaker was supposed to be here, but mutapewa nafasi, Chair Lady. And finally, allow me to recognize our government, of course. Bwana County Commissioner, do you want to come? Recognize your colleague, your counterpart from across. I'm sure you'll also have your say, but for purposes of recognition, karibu Bwana County Commissioner.
Kaunga, County Commissioner Busia. For that, I want to recognize the presence of our colleagues from Uganda, and I wish to invite Madam Resident District Commissioner to come forth, introduce your team, and say something as we proceed.
This Busia, with me, have moved with this delegation. If I announce your name, you stand up and wave. Honorable Nachisamba, Chris, C5, Busia District. Mr. Carlo Godfrey, the DISO, for Captain Martin, Katamba Defense. Irene, the Deputy RDC, Busia. I think I'll be coming back. So members, that is the Ugandan delegation, have moved with. Members, the governor of Busia, Kenyan side, and of course the Danish government, county, and of course the Ugandan delegation. You're not Swahili. You can come near me here. We joined the county governor of Busia, Kenya, to deal, welcome officials from UN Habitat, and of course the Danish partnership and resource mobilization. Of course, with the Department of ICT, and between UN Habitat and the county governor of Busia, Kenya, of intent on 10th September. We are grateful. Members, join me to appreciate this team of supporting us, which we hope will improve the economic status of Uganda, respectively. The Bible always says, to love your neighbor as you love yourself. What affects Busia, Kenya, affects us as Ugandans. Remember, we share the same blood, we share the same compound, we share the same clothing, we share the same values and norms, we share the same facilities, especially the health facilities, and we are business partners. Yes, we trade together. We share the same roads. And as you know, diseases don't know boundaries. Given that we have a plus border, anything can happen. And so, it's poverty. So I want to inform you that government of Uganda has tried to implement government programs like PDM, Emyoga, Segop, among others, but are still poor. We don't know why. Maybe we need to sensitize them and change their mindset. With this partnership, we have high hopes that it is going to strengthen cross-border trade and also improve on the local infrastructure and governance systems, cities and communities. It is our prayer that this partnership will further maintain international peace and security and also support sustainable development and climate change action, respectively. So on behalf of Uganda, and of course Busia, Uganda, we are here to pledge commitment towards this great initiative for God and my country.
Tupigie tena madam makofi ile. Tumfanye ile ya Nyayo style. Huyu ni mgeni wetu na jirani yetu. 1, 2, 3. Funga, fungua. I have always been wondering what anafunga nini na kufungua nini. But because it has been a tradition, lazima tufunge na lazima tena tufungue. Thank you very much, madam. Honorable Governor of Busia County, distinguished delegates from UN Habitat, esteemed representatives of Danish governments, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is both a great honor and a privilege to stand before you today as we gather here to discuss a project of immense significance, not only for Busia County, but also for the border region of East Africa. I would like to begin by expressing my sincere gratitude to our distinguished partners, the United Nations Habitat Delegation and the representatives of Danish government for their commitment to support this initiative that will have a lasting impact on the communities in Busia, Kenya, and our neighbors across border in Uganda. As you occupies a unique and strategic position at the heart of cross-border trade and regional integration. With our proximity to the Uganda border, at a crossroad of cultural exchange, economic interactions, and shared development. This makes Busia both a beneficiary and a key contributor to regional growth and stability. Today's gathering, one that will foster stronger ties, enhance economic opportunities. The framework we are discussing today for implementing this cross-border project is vital for realizing strengthening the economic status of our communities on both sides.
Can't we, and we know it's one lake, whatever they do with the lake in the upstream or downstream, it doesn't do that. It affects your prosperity. So it's important that this issue, we're really keen to see how we create this connectivity and how we can. The Danish Embassy, thanks for this support. This journey we've just started, and we've got some little steps to go. Time, matter from the Danish Embassy. They've been very, and of course, introduce your colleague as well.
Here, County Commissioner, our colleagues and friends from Uganda. It's not something I'm proud of, but I think it won't be the last. Here. And when I look out at how many people Danish government or Denmark has came from at independence and where we are, relationship between our two countries has changed over time, and now it is more than anything. So I think with these few words, we're not here to listen to me, I'm here to listen to you.
Nikisema Sevo anaelewa because one of his was just across the border. Sasa huyu ni Muganda. Asante sana. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the board director James Adedi. Where are you? On what will happen for the rest of the day. Director James Adedi.
CCs, ladies and gentlemen, it is a time when we want to get to do it in 2 sessions because we'll be sitting for a little while. He will do the introduction.
Your Excellency, Hamjambo. Okay. Rest of time, we want to keep this very, very short, and we'll leave that for another. Tutajaribu tuzungumuze. Kama kuna maswali muyaulize kwa Kimombo na kwa lugha ya Kiswahili. Sawa sawa. Sasa kwa main corridors, and the northern corridor is one of the shortest, but it does in the last 10 years have made a lot of progress, but there are 2 stories which have been of concern. One, the local governments have been going down. And to the common person, their girls are not, because there are trucks in that place. So the progress on the continent, the northern corridor is one of the most successful. I know, Governor, you talked about the downside. It's the most successful on a number of things. One, yes, compared to Malaba next door. Malaba may be dark with the story about that. Number 2, it's almost 40% of that trade. But yet there are circumstances, Busia, when it comes to property, there is a lot of uncertainty. They don't know. I know there are people who are losing their businesses. So people wonder, is this government for us? The national government is doing very well. we are part of the success story that is happening in Busia. And that success story yeah, and agreement by the women. So women and the youth, but also finding out ways in which to rent, I may be able to do that. If I want to build a house for someone, this project is about. I realize we have been sitting for and then roll back to come and do the technical presentation unless there are some questions or comments.
Thank you. Then on a consensus, I think you proceed, we finish the technical presentation so that...
Yeah? Okay. Story. Some of them are not very nice to look at, and the intention is not to confuse the SDGs that Kenya signed on for. The SDGs that Busia and one of them is about poverty. Now, my colleague, 2 million, correct? Now, if we return the border, we'll be able to see it. But yet we are very committed to that border and many other things. But one of the things we are interested in is poverty. The second thing, the women. But who owns the land? Use the food. If they produce the economy, but they are not having a share in about gender. The third SDG that we are seeing something about houses, cities, is a small representation. You have everything, the rich, the poor, those with houses, those without houses, the sick, the healthy, yeah? And we are using Greater Busia Metro, the economies, if I may say, or the livelihoods. Yeah, this is the heart of the project, property and land rights. The second, it seems that the computer is faster than me. Point very well. We are hoping to make a contribution on how the trade across the border is improved. So, and for me to talk about the actors and the kind of activities that we are going to do. I've started harmonizing the way trade is done. Now, if we move and stakeholders, because we want to work together to identify that. For this work to work, we are assuming, number one, that we shall continue to have, we've got excellent support at the county level, commitments from the national governments, but it is more complicated than that. And the example the governor gave for me says it all, because at one level, the assembly is employed. You can't implement them. So the question will happen, which laws are more important? Because when there are issues, it is these issues are seen. Very quickly, let's go to the components. And we shall, there will be 6 main components, and I think here I'll take a little bit of your time. Number one, and Governor here hold us responsible. The Secretary, you may have taken account. In the last 10 years, there are almost 10 different plans that have been in a very small way, and it is focused on trade, women, and the youth. Number one, we have never had the Busia as a metro. True? and we are talking about, it is going to be integrated, where we side, but they operated under different jurisdiction, and sometimes they needed the two presidents to bring the two brothers to talk together. What are we having here that is going to be different? We are looking at not just a plan, but it is looking at the two, and not only looking at the municipalities and what used to be covered by in Uganda, the district councils. We know from UN Habitat that the towns and the regions have got a logistics hub and transport. Seeking to do in a small way, and we shall discuss that, is that we then make the metro area much more competitive in terms of logistics and transport. So we hope that in the plans that we shall do, that we are able to identify places that will be competitive, for instance, for what do we call them? Long distance truck parks. And it is not just a parking space. I know, because I've worked with councils for long, that because I have drawn yellow or white lines on the road, I can now ask you for parking fees. But that does not grow an economy. That is what we have seen in Habitat. What are we looking at? We want those parks to be hubs for growing our towns in the metro. So you will have a park that has got accommodation. You have planned for places where there can be hotels. There can be someone who can put electricity. And therefore, the private sector can bring their money when the county has been able to provide that space. That's the other thing that will be different. Last thing that I want to talk, and we can talk more about it, is how we intend to prepare those plans. We are looking at involving students in the universities here, Uganda, and we haven't talked hoping that we can get our students from Denmark. Because this kind of plan, aware that it involves so many people. I mean, I looked at the Uganda delegation. 60% of the delegation are security people. For thought. On the Kenyan side, 30% of the delegation are technical people. So we want to talk about here is that we shall then involve our students and planning challenge of now and the future. As planners, my colleague Ishak will tell you, is to have plans that grow places for which you have planned for. Because we know better that a plan with the involvement that we can then invite the private sector, so that we are able to see why are we making that emphasis, but also our lessons, and we want to do something else. We also require a lot of attention, is how we govern the last. There are 2 points. One, we've used, our president talks about too much digital. Except for Konza and perhaps even different kinds of training. And we are aware that Denmark can invest in that. So that is about what the project and what we want to do is about. Now, increase the list of actors. So far, this is what we have during this visit and going forward in a week or two, to get all the important actors and then find out their relationship. We are then able to come up with strategies of them. So you notice we started with the government, The World Bank on the Rwanda-Congo side, but we have discovered that they have a lot of resources, spoons, but you eat 2. Will I give you 10 tomorrow? That is basically how, as simple but not simplistic, so that the traders and everyone can follow. So our message, and it is very likely to find its way, but we hope we can attract it, pull those resources to improve our security. We have the Joint Border Committee. Everyone knows about them, but this Joint Border Committee is part of the informal traders and women. It has really come down, but it has not been eliminated. Them to tax you. Okay, now this is where because when we say at the top, we talk about government, but operationally there are so many ministries that are involved and how important. Then of course, the story of we can build on that story and the success. But when we were last year in September, these stakeholders here should actually, my apologies, should have been at the top. They, in government, in important budgets are passed in the last 5 minutes of the meeting when everyone, you may wonder, but the governor mentioned it, who are involved in what we are talking about tend to be microfinance institutions. But if you look at the volume of trade at Busia, it is to the slide on implementation risk, which are, and they are in red for a reason, so that we can hold each other. Consultations with Busia, we have had, today will be our 4th consultation. Even for UN Habitat, we are exceeding our own expectations. But technical meeting that we carried out some analysis of different things. In October, we also had some of the discussions were virtual, online. November, we are here. But that today is not the end. So the idea that we presented in September, Bwana Governor, you will see. Now, one thing that I didn't mention, in the outcomes, there is one, and one of the things that we are mindful is that the county government of Busia in terms of resource mobilization. So one of our expectations in this intervention strategy, whatever, will be one of the things that come out of this. I know Ishaku has told you, but also from UN Habitat, we really have had exciting consultations with the embassy, but we for signing, but we are aware that these consultations, but there are some dates that we must work to. Now, there are a few people who are, Governor would know, all the I need to wrap up because I am here, you can't see, but to listen very well. Now, we are put as much as possible because we haven't been told by consultation our intervention is going to be weak. So we will really want to push and make sure that the county would have wanted 2 days, we wanted half a day. We are having a full day, but we are having 3 negotiations, and thank you very much, County Secretary. Now, or as part of this, we shall have inputs from about 100 people, which is very unusual in my short life in UN Habitat, how we should be doing business. So, if we don't achieve what we have in November, Bwana Governor, we will not be able to. I know I need to invite James. If there are questions, comments, we can take them, but I really feel that people need better. Yeah? We can continue. But they can come up as you look at the details of the presentation. My intention was to make sure we want to achieve. But I will ask an unfair question. Do you think this is a project that is worth your time? Why?
This is really good news for our neighborhood of Busia citizens. It's coming like a God-given gift. You know, opportunity for us. Two things. What are your expected outcomes for this project? I haven't seen them because you haven't shown what then. And that goes with the duration of the project. What time frame? What are your expectations? Number one, you know, Busia municipality has only 3 metropolis. So you may want to think beyond that 3 sub-county, go to Alupe. You know, dreaming about a city, when a governor, it requires you to think out of the box. So a metropolis about 20, 30 kilometers away, which encompasses a wider community of about 500 people or more, 1 million people. So the coverage to me is important. The last one is we are very critical area here because we support you in programs like this. So we'll want to see like this one. I want this hotel to become an international conference center, and I want it to be considered programs we can be done here, including more so the ICT situations, the digital. So we have those 3 areas could be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for. I can see things are getting hotter, and because of that, just a minute. I want to invite our MC to come and continue to take more questions, and then we'll give him the to answer.
Thank you very much. We just need to, let's all be upstanding for like less than 2 minutes. We stretch. Left, stretch. Okay, right. Nice. Yes. We can be seated, please. Director, proceed.
When we get into the plenary engagements, so yeah. Any other question? There is you introduce yourself, and then many hands. Oh, the mic is there. Okay. Tell us your name and please be brief and have very clear questions so that we can be able to answer them appropriately.
My name is Esuku Juma Yahaya. I'm the Secretary General of Uganda Clearing and Congestion, both from Ugandan side and Kenyan side. And this congestion, it's being brought about our verification yard at a go. Now, here is the question. How will this be achieved, especially using the mapping and end of to go to other places so that the place can be expanded.
Question, I saw many hands, some are disappearing.
Presentation. My question goes
Start with
to...
your name, please.
Oh, my name is Sarah Math, in the point where you mentioned the youths. And I would like to involvement of the youths in this entire project. And will they just be in population in Busia? Most of them are youths, and help us grow the economy. And number two, we are looking at building amends, and I'm looking at how will we in city. Thank you.
So would you?
Okay, thank you very much. I was telling James that we will allow this, and the comments mean two things. That one, main reason we are here today, so we shall try and explain. But secondly, which is the reverse of the first, is that we have something better. Very quickly, the duration.